them as Chinese is for us. So think about a Chinese person coming to Iceland or anywhere to Europe or any foreign country and being completely lost, and sometimes just thinking, I wish I could just have some noodles. And there are these super inexpensive €1 noodles, and it will just give me some comfort, and therefore you eat that. And usually, when I have been studying in China and living there and everything, and every time I see foreigners on all the Western restaurants, I'm like, oh, why do you do that? But actually, after a while, I kind of get it, because you want something that is just nice and easy, at least at some point during your stay. So it's fine to go for Chinese food 4 days, and then on the 5th day, you're maybe like, I just need a salad now, maybe, or steak or something. So again, that's why the Chinese eat noodles. But of course, this is totally like exaggerated and everything, but it is a good point. And I think you also get why this is a good story, because we tend to forget how foreign it must be for them to come. But we actually know how foreign it is for us to go to Japan or China or Thailand or something. All right, let's do a quick rewind of some of the things that just happened on our imaginary travel. Airports in China, especially in all these bigger cities, are just crazy big and fancy and new and not like European airports. And that's why when they come to Copenhagen, for example, and I think Keflavik is a lot smaller, but Copenhagen, they're like, is that it? Is there no more shopping? Is that really it? And they're super disappointed because they've heard, oh, we thought we should buy all these luxury products because they have a luxury tax in China, so they want to buy it in Europe, and then that's it? All right, so they are very surprised in a negative way when they arrive. I can't say for Iceland, but at least in Copenhagen, so I think it will be the same here as well. And, oh yeah, and by the way, they're also used to these huge airports, which means they are in a hurry because they have 3 hours before their flight, and they better have all the souvenirs packed before the gate closes. And when you're used to that kind of sized airport, then you need to run. The service personnel, does anybody know the story about that? Why is she following people around like that? Any ideas? It's because that's good service for some people in China. It's because it's attentive service, and it's service that is there right away. So if I'm in need of my sunglasses, she will be right there, and she'll be able to tell me all the different colors and all the different prices and all the different discounts I could get and so on. So it's attentive service in some shops, especially the higher ends, to be there for the customer as soon as the customer needs that help. In Europe, we are much more, oh, I'll let you shop over there and I'll stand here, and if you need any help, of course be happy to help you, but I'm not following you around because that's annoying for us.
Is it possible to ask to let them be?
Excuse me?
Is it possible to ask her to let them be?
Yeah, but like I have tried many times, and they're not. It's like it's coded in their I don't know if it's coded in their DNA, but it's a very typical thing to do in all sorts of shops. So if that's the norm, okay, we just need to know that so that we don't get annoyed or frustrated about it. All right, then there is also this thing. I think Chinese people coming to Europe feel, or at least Northern Europe, feel everything is extremely expensive, which is true, especially if you come from China and earn renminbi. But Chinese hotels are a lot cheaper than ours, and they're fancier. Fancier in that way that it's more bling and more gold and more huge. So we kind of like this more downscale, maybe a little more chilled, close to nature kind of environment and hotel. They want more gold. No, and now I'm saying they, right? But big Chinese tourist groups prefer something, and if they're used to that thing, and then they come to a 3-star hotel in Copenhagen, I can tell you that they're not going to be happy because that looks like crap compared to this. So it's something about the expectations that need to be handled here, because it's fine. Our hotels are great. They're just different. We don't have infinity pools, and we don't have the concierge taking out your luggage and all that, but they do. So we just need to manage those expectations so that they don't expect it when they come here. Then there was the thing about the I have a lot of friends asking, why can they not read this? It says the address, right? You can just read it out aloud and then it should be correct. But the least Chinese people will know what an address is if it's written in English. So that's also something for us to just be aware of. Okay, if it's in English, the Chinese might not understand it, even though it's there and very obvious for us. So let's also just keep that in mind. Then there was the thing about the hot water. I'm sure most of you have heard that before, but a lot of, like, especially older generations, but also like in a traditional sense, they think it's bad to put some ice cold water into your warm body, which also kind of makes sense, I guess. So they are used to drinking hot water, like water that has boiled and that is then maybe cooled down a bit. And they usually always carry around this thermos with them. And then they are looking for these, what are these called? Like water dispensers. And in China, these are everywhere. At every, like, definitely every airport, but also bigger shopping centers, they're like placed with the toilets, for, like next to the toilets and so on. So they are always there, but they are never here, right? Because we don't go around looking for boiling hot water in the middle of the day. But that's something small and nice that one could actually pay attention to, because that would actually make the. All right, let's get back to Europe or to Denmark and our Chinese tourists. And are they really that different than us? Now I'm saying a lot of things that they are different, but actually there's also some research that says the same. Hofstede is this, Gert Hofstede is this Dutch cultural researcher, and he has done cultural studies over the last 40 plus years. Now his son continues to work. And what's interesting is, again, don't take this for like this is the absolute truth, but this is a very good way of understanding why we are so different on some points. So he has made these 6 dimensions, and I'm going to talk about the first 3 because they're very distinct for a lot of the things we're going to talk about today. So power distance is, the way he did this was to interview IBM employees in tons of countries over 40 years. And then they were asked a lot of different questions, and then he kind of plotted every single country in on these scales. So are they high or low on the power distance? Are they high and low on individualism, and so on and so forth. So power distance means, are we a flat hierarchy, which you can see that Denmark and Iceland are. Denmark is light blue, Iceland dark blue. We are quite flat hierarchies. We are all equal. We can go to our boss and say, boss, that was shit. We should have done this instead. I suggest that we do so and so. China, high power distance, which means you're okay with high hierarchies. It's okay that there's somebody up there and you are down here, which means you don't go to your boss and say, boss, that was crap. You can't do that because there is something, oh, he's up there, well then I am down here and this is my place and that's okay. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but for us it's very weird because we're so equal here. So power distance also means customer is king. And that goes back to the hotels, for example. I, Chinese me, expect my suitcase to be carried into my room. I expect fancy service. I expect service right away. I expect the service personnel to be there for me, and so on. Because there is also a power distance. I'm the customer, you're the service personnel. So it's really like I'm looking down on people or I'm looking up on people, and that's the natural, not a bad thing in their perception. So power distance is something I'll come back to because that goes through a lot of the things where, especially the things where we culturally clash with each other. Then individualism, that was a teaser. Individualism, they are very collective. So they are a group. A lot of people still, not so much anymore, but a lot of people still live several generations together in a house, or at least very close, and grandparents take care of children while you're working and so on. So they have a group dynamic that I actually think is very, very cool and that we're missing in the Nordics. We are much more individualistic. It's like about me, and I need to have an awesome life, and when my parents are too old, then they get into this, house called where you put old people. Like, you don't do that in China. You know, you take care of generations, and generations take care of each other. So it's also a different way of living. And also masculinity. We are very feminine. We are very, again, equal. And there it's much more the masculine, the macho, what's it called? Qualities that are good somehow. So it's much more about showing off your wealth and so on. This is a static picture. It was made over the last 40 years, but this is still, I don't know, these numbers are from last year. But changing. China is really changing. And a lot of things is funny when you already saw the next slide, but usually people laugh when they see that. So now you're supposed to laugh. Because it is unexpected for us. Maybe you have seen a lot of this, I think, especially right now with the new SARS virus and all that. At least in my plane yesterday, a lot of people were wearing face masks. But in China, this is completely normal. Like, some use it because they have a cold and they don't want to affect others. Other people use it because there's pollution in the air and so on. And again, others use it because they didn't put makeup on that day, and others use it because they don't want to get recognized. Like, there are a lot of things and reasons to wear it, but the thing is, it's super normal to wear. If you see this in Denmark and it's not a Chinese person, then you'll think that person is super, super sick or dying or something. Like Danes would never wear this, and I think most of you would probably never wear this. So again, it's just something that is normal there, that is not normal here. Let's not make a super big deal out of it, because now we know why they are wearing it. Face bikinis are not used that much, but sometimes it blows up in Western media because it looks interesting, funny. But actually, thinking about, like, why are they wearing this? They're wearing it because they want to take care of their skin in the sun, so they want to be able to go swimming and so on, without having the sun rays give you wrinkles and so on. Actually, that's not that bad idea, or at least, I'll get back to that. Imagine we are wearing face masks. If Iceland, the air in Iceland was like that, we would also all be wearing face masks here. So it's not so weird that they are doing it. And then to the face bikinis. Who is the stupid here? Right? I mean, that is very weird. I'm not sure if I think this is smarter than wearing a face bikini. And then, interesting picture, but okay, it's a body lotion with whitening effect. Every time it's so annoying when you're in China because you can't get a lotion without whitening effect. And I don't want a whitening effect. I want to be tan, right? But it's just, we have what is it called, the one where you get the self-tanner or something like that, self-tanning cream. They have whitening lotion. It's just two different perspectives, exactly the same thing. You want what you don't have. If you have a lot of sun, you want to be white because then you're not the ones who work outside in the field and get suntan and so on. So let's just remember, it's not one is right and the other one is wrong and stupid. It's actually us all thinking about the same thing, just from two different perspectives. Also this one. Actually, now I stayed here at this hotel this morning, and I did have rice porridge this morning, which was very cool. But quick show of hands, how many would prefer the rice porridge tomorrow morning with 1,000-year-old eggs? That was not very many. How many prefer the butter and jam? Okay, and the rest doesn't eat breakfast then. Okay, but I did not see a lot of people raising their hand. Actually, I did not see anybody raising their hand for this one. I should have done it. But again, this is what's normal for the Chinese, or at least this is what's comfort food. And it's so easy to make, so why don't we just make it so that they can also have it, so that they're happy? Because a lot of Chinese are not used to milk and bread, and their stomachs can't really handle it and so on. So why should we force them to eat that when they're here? At least when you're in a hotel and you actually have the option to make something else. All right, let's go on to the Chinese travelers and how they are traveling. Again, I said with Hofstede that was a very static picture, and it is changing very fast, and I'll show you how fast. Here is Shanghai 35 to 32 years ago, 33 years ago. And here is Shanghai a few years ago. I'll go back again and go forth again because it is just incredible. And this is not only true for Shanghai, this is Shenzhen, this is like all the bigger cities that we have now. It is crazy. So there's so much going on in China. The economy is rolling, buildings are getting built. Culture is also rolling, but rolling slower because it's something that we have learned, that it's something that we grew up with. But it is still changing. So travel is 10 years ago. Chinese travel is 10 years ago. They were, and again we're talking broad terms, right? Stereotypical terms. But they were inexperienced. They bought these pre-packaged tours with fixed, now the bus goes there, then you have half an hour to shop there, then the bus goes there, you have 10 minutes to go to the toilet, then we see the waterfall for 25 minutes, and so on. They traveled in large groups. With large, I mean like 30. Like I've been in these group tour buses. There's always karaoke, which is a lot of fun, but it's still crazy. Follow tight schedules, already said that. Spent very little on accommodation because that was not what you were there for, right? It's like in, out, and tight schedule. So what instead they spent most on was shopping because shopping is awesome. All right. Yes. For luxury brands and so on, they have a luxury tax, which makes it a lot more expensive to buy the Gucci bags and all that. In China, so therefore they are shopping on, amongst other things, luxury products. They also have something about Scandinavian design or Icelandic sweaters or something like the local specialties they would also buy. And also they have a big gifting culture that we don't have in the same way, so they're expected to take gifts back. So they shop a lot, or they shopped a lot. But then today, they're of course still the ones that I just talked about, but we have a lot of these now. They are increasingly sophisticated, which means they know what they're here for, and they want to have the crazy cool experiences, and they are not gonna just follow the typical crowd because they have seen this hidden gem somewhere on Chinese social media. They want exciting experience, like crazy different things again. Novel, untouched destinations. I think that's also where Iceland has gained a lot of attention the last few years because it was still this kind of unexplored. Now you're kind of very explored. Travel in smaller groups now or on their own. There are not that many solo travelers, but a couple travel or a small group, like 4 people or 6 people in a family traveling as a small private group is very typical. And they decide themselves where and when to go and so on. So, we call them FITs, free independent travelers, these people who travel in smaller groups or by themselves. And you can see the development from 2012 to last year is just going up. We expect this to continue. Not that there will not be any group travelers, because they will definitely be there. Groups are still also growing, but the FIT share is just growing even faster. So that's super interesting to us. And what is special about these? The special thing is that a lot of them have been to Europe before, so it's not the first time traveling here. They spend more time in each destination. For us, that's very good because then they also spend more money, right? And then they visit more attractions at the destination, and they visit paid attractions. And they wish to immerse themselves into local lifestyle and learn about the Danish way or the Icelandic way. So that means a lot less of these, we go to the Nordics and then we travel all 4 or 5 countries in 10 days, and then we've seen it, and then next time we can go to Africa. And the share of FITs is actually pretty high I have the numbers for Copenhagen and Stockholm, and for both it's above 50%, but the global average is lower. So it's actually quite interesting that these kind of people, the FITs, and these are the ones that we at Wonderful Copenhagen would focus more on because they're more interesting, use more money, stay longer, all that. So that's actually really nice that these are the people who tend to come to the Nordics. All right, I think I'll give you a short Chinese lesson and then maybe have a brief break. You'll still look as if you're following me. That's good. All right, very quick Chinese lesson. How many speak Chinese? And then one there. Okay. That's it. Three. Very good. Let's start with English first then. because we do speak that. Sorry, Iceland is not in here. I looked many times, but you're not represented. But Scandinavian countries in general are on the top. This is from English First, English school worldwide. And then we have China on place 40. And that's actually not that bad. That's moderate proficiency. What is wrong with this test? Or what is the issue with this test? The issue is this is a written test. Chinese people are not that bad in English writing. They're really bad at speaking. In general, they are not that good at speaking English. So that's the thing. So English First, they do this every single year because they teach English, so they can easily find out who is good and who is moving. And China is moving really fast. Last year they were in the low proficiency, now they're already moderate proficiency in the written language, so that is good. But it is actually a language where less than 1% speak English conversationally. So when they come here, it is going to be a difficult time for them if they can only speak English with you guys. All right, then let's turn it around. Chinese, super easy language. I'll teach you that in 2 minutes. There is, let me see, because I can't remember. There are 7 main languages and 300 dialects. And we're not talking about dialects like Western Danish with Copenhagen Danish or something. We're talking completely different languages, like Icelandic Danish, that kind of. There are some few words that we can understand from each other, but in general it's completely different. That's how different these languages and dialects are. Despite being so different in the pronunciation, the written language is actually the same word. There are 2 written languages left. So we used to have traditional Chinese, and this is still used in Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau. And for calligraphy and something where it needs to look really nice. But now you have simplified Chinese, and if you would learn Chinese, you would probably learn this, which is a lot less hard than that. So it's super nice that they have simplified Chinese. And you actually only need to read about 3,000 characters in order to read a newspaper or get most of it. So that's easy. And then you also have, this is peeing, this is like phonetic script in English. That helps people like me who speak Chinese but don't write Chinese immensely, which is awesome. All right, but so remember that there are 2 written languages, and probably in 99% of the time, actually I heard that you have a lot of Taiwanese guests as well. So Taiwanese guests would use this, but mainland Chinese persons would use this. So if you had to translate something into Chinese, you would probably use this one. All right, and now my favorite example. Chinese super easy because MA can mean anything from ma to cannabis to horse to scold to question. Let me see if I can start this video. So this is just a recording of me on my phone writing MA and then scrolling through and see what it can mean. So night, headboard, mother, sesame, smear, agate, I don't even know if that is English, but it's twins, straw. And then we're still talking MA only, ma, so everything goes ma, 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 ma. Name of a river, like it is crazy. So it seems to us to be extremely difficult to learn, but actually it is not that crazy when you start learning it. But it just means you might not learn perfect Chinese to say welcome to them. But if you just say welcome in Chinese, they will be super happy. You will really make them glad that you tried. You can also try to learn something like this. Which is the mom's riding the horse is slowing the fish goes the horse. Okay, not very useful, but a fun example. You can also see how the pronunciation is really a killer sometimes. So we have 熊猫, which is pen, and then 胸毛, which is chest here. Quite funny, so don't say anything that can be misunderstood. But let's just learn these 3, because if you greet a Chinese with a Chinese hello, which you already said somebody here, 你好, they will be happy because you actually made a small effort. So let's all say 你好. 你好. And thank you is 谢谢. 谢谢. Yeah. And goodbye is 再见. I already heard there was something singing over there. Very good. Yeah. So now you speak Chinese. Now it's actually super nice. You know how you also feel it's a little fun when you are in Cuba and somebody greets you in Icelandic. That is just crazy. So
could you use hello instead of welcome if you want to say welcome?
yeah, you could say 欢迎, which is the real welcome if you go into a shop, for example. But you can also say ni hao, and then that's already a greeting that they would understand. So that would be nice. All right. I am going to Chinese habits, but maybe we should have a 5-minute break or an 8-minute break. Let's do that. And I'll see you back in a second. Is it better like this? All right, guys. We have a lot to cover, or I have a lot to cover. So let's continue with Chinese habits. It's good that the table has a lot of fun. All right, let's continue with Chinese habits. Because we're all very used to our own habits, and we might not completely understand their habits, and now I'm here to tell you a bit about how they are different. China is a mobile-first country, and when I say this, usually people say, yeah, Denmark, Iceland is also a mobile-first country. Yeah, but China is a mobile-first country in a completely different way than most other countries. 55% use smartphones. That's actually top 20 in the world. And think about that, we have a lot of poor people in China. 802 million internet users, that's just a sheer number, that is crazy. But the crazy thing is that 98% of these internet users access the internet through their mobile phone, not through a tablet or desktop or something like that, but through their mobile phone. So they are very mobile and are used to staring at their mobiles, and actually they're like, haha, that's such a small iPhone. They don't have the big iPhone because they spend all the time on their iPhones. All right. They do everything on their phones. They buy services and goods, they order taxis, food, make doctor's appointments, bikes, rent cars, pay your electricity bills, and almost everything else. Like every single thing that you need to do, you can do on your mobile phone in China. And by the way, look at the time here, 0808. Just keep that in mind for later. I just thought it was a very fun thing. All right, so they do everything on their mobile. Also, they're traveling. So before, looking for inspiration and finding out where to go and what to see and so on, everything is on your phone. The planning on your phone, they have apps for that. The booking is on your phone. You book your flight tickets, you book your whole trip. If you don't book it on an OTA, like a travel agency or something like that, then you book it on your mobile phone. How many of you book things on your phone? I usually look through, there are a few. Yeah, if you have to, or if you're running, yeah. But this is like all the time, everything. So, and while traveling, obviously, also, and remember that while they're traveling here, then they use Google Maps on all our products, and Instagram and so on. It's only in China that they can't use it. And then also after the travel, for sharing the travel moments and so on, everything is on the mobile phone. And everything, or not everything, a lot of this happens in one single app called WeChat. If you should know one app in China, you need to know WeChat. And I'll come with a disclaimer afterwards. But WeChat is the biggest social media in China, and it's not only for social media, it's also for work. So 90% of Chinese professionals prefer WeChat for word communication, which I think is super annoying because they get WeChat messages all the time. And 98% of 50 to 80-year-old smartphone users in China use WeChat. I don't know how many of your grandparents are on Facebook, but this seems very crazy to me. And people open it a lot, as in all the time and always. And I will now show you. Oh yeah, by the way, it has 1 month. Their monthly average user is more than 1 billion. That's insane, I think. All right, this is our Visit Copenhagen's WeChat profile. Can I get it to? Yeah. So WeChat profile is actually, instead of your landing page or instead of your home page, you can use a WeChat account. So this is Visit Copenhagen's official account. Unfortunately, now I saw you all writing down WeChat, you need to remember that. The thing is, it is quite complicated and takes a lot of time, especially if you're a non-Chinese company. We have a lot of issues, and we have quite a few Chinese speakers at our company, and that was difficult. So just to say, don't expect to go home, download it, and then just go and start your new Facebook 2.0 campaign, because it's very different. Then there is something super crazy, because WeChat thought, oh, people are only spending 3 hours or 4 hours a day on our app, we need them to spend more. How do we get them to do that? Well, what do they do on their phone, which is not on our app? That is visiting websites or being on other apps. So we're just combining everything into WeChat. So WeChat has so-called mini apps. And mini apps are apps within the app. So companies can have a kind of a script version of their homepage or of their native app inside the WeChat universe. Again, this is our mini program that is just going live next month, I think, with all the most important information. That was what I decided to show you here. So it is, it is very valuable for companies to have this, and every single company in China will have both an official account and probably also make campaigns on this app and so on. But again, it is not that easy to be honest with you. And then a lot of things are about convenience in China. So WeChat, of course, also can be combined with everything else. So here I'm at a restaurant together with Tia in Shanghai. And when we arrive at the restaurant, we scan a QR code outside, and you get into a WeChat mini program, and you get in line. And then the mini program will tell you, oh, it's your turn in 7 minutes or whatever. And now you have a table, so we go in. Then you scan the code on your table, and you get into their mini program, and you see all the menu and everything. You order directly in there. Food comes, you pay directly in WeChat Pay, and then you leave. No cash, no change, no service, no nothing. It's super fast in and out. And now you might say, but isn't that boring? It's not about being super fast in and out when we go out for dinner. But in China it might be, because they go out for dinner all the time. It's something special for us, but they can go out for dinner or go out for food 3 times a day in China. So there it's not about sitting down and having a cozy time with your friends necessarily. It can also be. I saw a question there?
I'm just wondering, because when I was in Beijing, everything you say is true. How do you educate billion people to go mobile first in such rapid pace that this is basically everywhere and nobody uses caching? And how do you do this? Do you mobile universities or what? How do you do it?
I think there is a lot of things that are only possible or that are faster possible in China, because they have so many people who will, like, they have all the brightest minds and they have all the money. They're the second biggest economy, like we just talked about. So they can develop all these things. And because they have so many, they also, WeChat started after Facebook and WhatsApp and all that. So they kind of made a copy of all our apps. And because they came later, they could fix all the stuff that we were not doing well and then make this perfect app. And then they're just building on this one app instead of doing a lot of different things. So a lot of the things that are focused and developed in China is going towards this one direction here. And that's why we don't have super apps the same way in Europe, but this is seriously, you have other apps as well, but 99% of the time, you only need this WeChat app.
Can I just add, I think also there's something about when things get developed in China, the test market is so huge, like compared to if we develop something in Denmark, then if you need a test market with 5 million people. Here you're talking millions of people, so every time they develop something, they can easily and fast test it on the usage. So, yeah.
Can I ask one?
Yeah, of course.
Is WeChat and Alipay is it the same? Is it enough to have only WeChat? Can you pay through WeChat?
Yes. Okay, so the question was, is WeChat and Alipay the same, and can you have just one of them? It's two.
You need to have both.
Yeah. Usually all shops in China will have both. But you would, as a Icelandic company, it would be fine to have one of them, because everybody in China uses both anyways. So they will have both apps. So the issue is not to accept neither Alipay nor WeChat Pay, because then they can't pay at all. So if you have one of them, it will be good enough, but 2 would be, there are some who prefer one or the other, but everybody pretty much has the app. It has both apps. Does that answer the question? Perfect. And then if we continue a bit down the mobile payment line here, just a short, it doesn't even matter the trillion kroner. These are the 2 biggest economies in the world. This is how much mobile payment in the US makes out, and this is in China. It's insane. So they are way ahead, and I'm pretty sure that Alipay will soon also get to Europe. They're already starting to do a lot of activities here. And also here, if you see, so these were the 2, Alipay and WeChat Pay, so the 2 biggest players. They also have Apple Pay, which is like, yep.
The most common credit card I've seen when Chinese passengers come on my trips is Union Pay credit cards, which are kind of old school, without a chip and without a tap.
Yeah.
And where does that factor in on this?
Union Pay credit card. So UnionPay is the credit, if they come with a credit card, then they have a UnionPay credit card. And it's because every bank account in China will automatically give you this UnionPay credit card. That's why everybody has it. So that has been very big, but because the development is so fast, they're kind of skipping the credit card development that we are going through and then going directly to mobile payment. So if again, okay, it also requires something to handle this here in Europe. So at least being able to accept the UnionPay would also be a good first step if you can't do this. And we have some airports. This is Munich Airport. They were the first to implement both Alipay and WeChat Pay in 2017. And they have it in all 70, or they have it in 70 shops. I don't know if they have more shops. And within the first 3 months, Chinese tourists use 92% more money than the month before. So it is just having that thing in your window and saying, we accept Alipay or WeChat Pay or UnionPay is going to affect the Chinese travelers. Because a lot of them feel, I don't even need to go in because probably I can't pay anyways for these bigger amounts. Oh yeah, and down here also, so a lot of people have already tried mobile payment while traveling overseas, and almost everybody would like to buy more if it was possible to pay with Chinese mobile payment systems. So that's something to consider. All right, let's go through some do's and don'ts. This is where culture wow things come in. Okay, let's start with face. You've probably heard that before. You can give someone face, you can make someone lose face. You don't want to make a Chinese person lose face. And what it actually means is avoid any action that might make the Chinese visitor feel bad in front of other people. So it's about not saying directly no to a person or not scolding the person in public or something. And we're kind of, it seems kind of obvious that you shouldn't scold another person in public. I wouldn't go to you and scold you here in front of the group. But actually just saying no to you would already be too much for some Chinese people. So they have a different threshold than we do. So with regards to this no, for example, you kind of lose face, or you can make the other person lose face by declining something so directly. If the person comes here and wants some hot water for his not tea but just hot water, and you say no in front of other people, it's very scary somehow for that person. It's something that they don't usually get. In Chinese, you don't really have a specific one word for no. You would always say no cannot, or no I don't have, or no something. So no, remember that is a very hot-cold thing for Chinese. And it's also super annoying sometimes, because if you ask a Chinese person for the way, I've done this a lot of times, and a lot of times I've ended up places I did not plan to end up, because instead of saying, no, I don't know the way, let's say, oh, yeah, you go down, right, left, blah, blah, blah. So, because it would make the person lose face in front of me, I'm like, oh, this is so ridiculous somehow. Okay, but it just shows, again, stereotypical, and there are a lot of new generations not growing up with all this and so on. But it is still a thing for Chinese to get confronted very directly. And in the Nordic countries, we tend to be quite direct. So think about that when we talk with Chinese tourists. All right, then a brief go through do's and don'ts. If you hand over business cards in a business setting, or if you're in a hotel and hand over passport, credit card, important documents, and so on, always do it with 2 hands. It is a sign of respect. And by doing that to a Chinese, the Chinese may even give you the passport with 1 hand, but you receive it with 2 hands because you're the service personnel person. So that's something that shows that you know a little about Chinese culture and respect. Then if you need to point at somebody or get somebody over, don't say, hey, you come over. Instead, use your flat hand or open hand. That is a much more polite gesture to point. Also, you have a question and so on. The whole touchiness, Chinese are not very fond of touching and so on. You may give a handshake if you're in a business setting, but wait if the other person, if the Chinese person actually does it to you. But in other situations, you never give a handshake. In Denmark, we hug a lot. Don't hug a Chinese person. It's gonna be very awkward. Instead, you can just give a small nod, a small smile. That would be enough. Don't bow. They're not Japanese. And yeah. All right, food. There was somebody talking about food in the beginning as well. It is true, they share a lot. And it's very common that you have these round tables, sometimes with the lazy Susan, the thing that you turn around in the middle. And then they have a lot of different dishes that you share, and everybody eats kind of the same instead of everybody having their own plate, which we usually do when we go out for dinner. So if they ask you, if some of you have worked with hotel restaurants or restaurants, then they might also ask for recommendations. It would be very nice to give them recommendations that they can share, that are easily shareable, and also give them different kinds of meat and vegetables. Remember, the vegetables and fish is very, it's very popular. Also, they prefer meat with bones and not meat without bones. My aunt was here from Taiwan, and she's like, "Why can't I get any nice meat here? It's like only a fillet and stuff." It was so weird for her. They think that there's much more taste, and they like the texture and so on. That's also why we eat chicken feet, for example, or all those things. All right, then there are also a lot of specialities in Europe that the Chinese obviously don't know. And even in China or in Asia, you're quite used to these things, even with a menu with pictures or 3D models of things, which I always find very strange. But I kind of get the point, because I wouldn't know what some kind of Icelandic specialty is either, so if I could kind of see how it looks, I might be much more willing to order it. Or, yeah, I wouldn't even know how to ask for it, because I don't know what it is. So that's also an idea that you can use if you want to inspire people to eat some specific things. And you don't need to have a translated menu of everything that you offer. You just have the top 10, top 20 or something, the most popular dishes, or the ones that you actually want them to taste. Then there's also something really funny about going out for dinner. Somebody said it before. Going out is usually just I need to eat some dinner, and go out, and then I go back, and I maybe do it every single night. You can go out for dinner and lunch and breakfast all the time in China. But sometimes you also sit down as a celebration for something, and then it can get really, really loud. People are very happy here and very loud. That's at least what you have to imagine. And actually loudness, the Chinese would not use the adjective loud for this. They would say 热闹, which is more lively and happy and good discussions and very nice atmosphere and so on. So it's kind of funny that we don't have a word for that feeling, but the Chinese do, because that is what this is to them. And obviously it's going to be a problem with if there is one Chinese table here and you are extremely loud, and then all the rest is just looking at you and thinking that's weird. And how to handle that situation if you can't go and say no. Maybe you can go and tell them instead that we really appreciate the calmness here in Iceland, and that is so nice. This is for it. Like try to say these kind of things instead of shh, because that would again that's making them lose face. And then there's one super funny thing and super annoying thing somehow about finishing a meal in China. It's the fight for the bill. And when I say fight, I kind of mean fight. It's super interesting. It is a cultural thing where the one who can afford to pay, who's successful, who has the money, invites the whole table. You don't really split the bill. And several people would want to say, oh, I am that successful rich person who can invite everybody, so let me pay. No! I am also very successful. Let me pay. You know, and then it becomes kind of a fight who is allowed to pay and invite everybody around the table. So this is a quite common thing that you'll see, so don't be surprised if difficult today. It depends how they are. It's also very different where they are, right? Because we have different countries where they leave tips and not. So I can't answer that in general. I think if you...
Is that the custom in China?
Very little, you can round up, but not really. Yeah, but even on your phone you can add tips. So, yeah. All right, let's go to something fun. Shopping, gifts, and superstition. Usually people start to pay real attention here because now you're going to burn money. All right, tourism expenditure, China is crazy, as you can see, like on all slides. It's also obvious because there are so many Chinese traveling, but they do spend a lot of money. It varies widely reasons, no, what is it called? Where you get the information from. Some say it's only a few hundred Danish kroner, that's like 15 euros or 20 euros more than average, and others say that it's double the amount of the international average. So they do spend money, but how do they spend money? They spend money in a different way than we usually do. So non-Chinese people spend most money on accommodation, and then dining, and then shopping. Chinese people spend more on shopping, then accommodation, and then dining. Again, dining is just like, need to go out, spend some, go back. But this is actually changing, and it's changing quite fast. So here we have the last 3 years, and shopping went from 91% as a travel purpose for 91% of people to 76 to only 41 now, and the trend is still going down. So there are several things for this. The gifting culture is maybe going a little back. There's a lot of taxes now, so you can't just buy everything and then resell your Gucci bags in China. So shopping is becoming less and less important, but it's still up there. It's still an important reason to go. And like a lot of other places also, the showing off is going, it's kind of moving from your Rolex and your handbag and your car to experiences and to something other immaterial. I've been in this place and nobody else has been, kind of way of showing off. So that's quite interesting. But why is it, there was somebody asking me in the break as well, why is it that they shop when they get here? Because it's super expensive to shop here, right? Yeah, but just especially with luxury products, they have this luxury tax, which means it's actually cheaper to buy big brands here than in China. And then this is a research that we did last year, and we asked them if they thought that these different things were poor value for money or good value for money, or in between. I've taken all the in between out. So you can see it's like, yeah, it's okay with all these things, accommodation, food, drinks. And then activities, okay, pretty good money because you can do something. Now this is for Denmark, you can do something that you can't really do anywhere else. And then jewelry and watches is like, and nobody's saying it's poor value for money. And that's because it's obvious, because it's so much cheaper in Denmark. And I'm like, Denmark is so expensive, how can this be cheaper? But that's because of that luxury tax. And a lot of Chinese people still have these shopping plans when they come. So they have already made plans for shopping, they already know what to do, they want something local, they want to shop for souvenirs, they need to bring gifts back, and Chinese, in this Scandinavian numbers, account for almost half of the total tax-free sales. It's just crazy, but that also means we need to focus on tax-free, for example, in airports or in the bigger cities. And now something super weird about something, there are so many weird things about Chinese. So 3 factors that affect tourists' shopping behavior. Again, non-Chinese tourists think, what is the most important? That's the price. If I can pay for it, then it's fine. Is it within the travel budget? Then it's also good. Product quality, yeah, that's not small souvenir. Quality is maybe not that important, but it's still a good souvenir because it reminds me of this good trip. Not for the Chinese. They're like, most important thing, discount. I want a discount. It doesn't matter that it's super expensive, you just want a discount. Okay? And then the payment method. So do we accept Alipay, WeChat Pay, or Union Pay? And then the last thing, okay, still on the same height, but third place is the price itself. Super interesting. So think about giving a discount instead. Here we have the from Copenhagen Airport. It's like buy 3, pay for 2, like that. Like these kind of discounts is super good, and that's also because you can bargain a lot in China. So if you kind of come here and you don't bargain, then you pay the full price, which is stupid. Nobody pays the full price, right? So they kind of need to have that small bargaining power. And what do they then want to buy? They want to buy local products that they can't get somewhere else. And the worst thing they could get home with is something that's made in China, right? And unfortunately, or I don't know, unfortunately, a lot of things are made in China, so don't sell them to the Chinese. That is really crazy. So find some local foods. This is, by the way, my favorite Icelandic chocolate. If anybody has something that's even better, come and let me know afterwards. But find something local. Also, what they really like is do-it-yourself products and customizable gifts. This is something, now it's not only about the Louis Vuitton bag, it's about having the bag tag with your initials on. Or it's about having the Lego figure with your name and so on. You can even, that's at Royal Copenhagen, kids can, for very much money, paint your own porcelain. And yesterday I saw this at Copenhagen Airport. You can buy Tupperware and print your name on like a sleeve, like here, see it here, on a sleeve like this. And of course, they also have it in Chinese, which I thought was awesome. So and it didn't cost anything. You just go there, buy the product, and then you print the sleeve with whatever you want. So for example, thinking about you is very cute. So something like that is something that is a big driver for sales. Something else that you should think about is Chinese zodiac animals. Chinese New Year is Friday, and we are going from the year of the pig into my year, the best year, the year of the rat. Then you can also guess how old I am, because it's every 12 years. So I'm either 24 or 36. So that is something, like they really like all this cartoonish, cute thing, even though they're adults and everything, but it's something a lot of people really work with. So for example, like I said before, people really want to have hot water when they go to airports or something like that. So of course Starbucks made this very, very interesting sleeve for their water, what is it called, hot water bottle. And that means that's pretty smart, right? Because now they have a pig. From Saturday, they'll have the rat, and so on. Each year you need to buy this because you, of course, want the whole collection. So that's something a lot of people do, and it's not only, I was very happy yesterday at Keflavik Airport, very nice, with welcoming and saying Happy New Year, and also with some New Year's offers. And this is Denmark, also Lancôme with the Year of the Rat. It's super nice to see that more and more people are doing this, and using the red color, which is the happiness color in China. And it's actually also the big brands doing it. And I don't know how much such a bag costs, but it's probably pretty expensive, and I don't think it gets cheaper to put 3 little piglings on. So it is a big deal, and we laugh about it, but seriously, this is money business. So if you, even though it's not even meant for Chinese New Year, but if you have some kind of souvenir thing that is in a mouse form, I'm pretty sure that you will be able to sell that to Chinese people from next year on or from now on. So quite interesting. I also thought I just saw this on our social media profile. You know, usually if you do Facebook ads and so on, you can always see, 14.2% from Beijing and so on and so forth. The mainly female and the mainly 18 to 34. And then I looked at this, I'm like, wait a second. Oh, okay, so there are leaves of Aries amongst our followers and a lot of Capricorners amongst our followers. Why would I even need to know that? But this is one of the main features of the Weibo social media profile, that you can see which star the zodiac sign your followers have. So they just put a lot more thought into it than we would ever do. All right. Red color, I already said it before. It's something, it means fortune, and it's always used for weddings and for Chinese New Year and everything. So if you have something that you need a color for Chinese, red is a very good option because it means fortune and happiness. Then there are also a lot of gifts that you cannot give, and now it becomes complicated. So you cannot give a clock because tick-tock and time is ticking and your life is running out, so it means death. Don't do that. Don't give an umbrella because umbrella is called san, and san means to spread your friendship and so on. So that's also a friendship killer. Pears, and now you're like, why would I even give a pear? But actually, Chinese people like to give fruit, and it's actually super expensive if you have like very, very fancy, beautiful fruit. And Li also sounds like leave somebody. So it's also a sign of cutting friendship or something like that. Then there are red pens. I just said red is the color of happiness. Except for if you're writing names, never ever do that. Because traditionally, names were written with pig blood on the death row list. So it's only the people who were sentenced to death that were written in red. And it was really funny because I held this course in Copenhagen at some point at the airport. And then one of the shops were like, fuck, we always have the credit card slip signature thing with a red pen. I'm like, cancel that board mission, don't do that. So quite funny. Then other funny things, a lot of these things that also have to be said. We have been six Chinese people in the team, and we've discussed a lot about these because there were always 5 people who totally agreed, and then there was one like, no, of course you can give a bureau, of course you can give an umbrella. So it's not, let's say it's okay for it, or it's valid for 90% of the Chinese. And the same with scissors. A lot of people say it cuts your friendship. Green hats, literally, or what is it called? Like the meaning means if you're wearing a green hat, then your partner is unfaithful. So you don't want to wear a green hat. And actually, I can't remember where this was, but if you jaywalked, if you walked over red, then you would, as a punishment, you would get this green hat on, and it was terrible because nobody wants to wear that. So quite funny. Then this one I think is super important for everybody again who works with restaurants and so on. Putting sometimes a lot of people don't know where to put their chopsticks when they're not eating. Definitely do not put them like up down in your rice because it looks very much like this, which is where you're burning incense and praying to the dead. So again, this one is a sign of dead. Don't do that. It's not easy, huh? And then you have, so China has a favorite color, which is red, and they of course also have a favorite number. It's not number 2. But a Chinese proverb is good things come in pairs. So a lot of things, if you're selling souvenirs, for example, you can sell them in a 2-pack. That means good fortune and so on. And 4 is the worst number. Don't ever use 4s, especially at the end. So you see here that there's no number 4, and there's no number 40. There's also no number 13, and that's because they think, in the Western world, they don't like Friday for 13, so maybe we'll just take 13 out. So in a building with 100 stories, there are actually only 80 some, which is kind of funny. And and the reason why the Chinese don't like 4s is it's pronounced si, and to die is si. So 4 is not good. Please don't ever give number 44 and all these numbers to the Chinese guests. Just give it to some European because they don't hear as much. Then there's 6, Liu. It's called Liu is smooth. So 6 is also a happy number. People like that. And then the best number in the world, number 8. 8 is pronounced ba, and fortune and so on is ba. So it's like, okay. But 8, anyways, is the most positive and most expensive number. If you have phone numbers, for example, all the foreigners in my class in Shanghai had numbers with a lot of 4s because they were the cheapest numbers. None of the Chinese wanted them. And then the really expensive numbers are with a lot of 8s. And the Olympic Games in China started at 8 p.m. on August 8, 2008. And remember that Huawei phone where I said, remember the time 0808? It's not by chance they have chosen that time, it's because of this. So it is really funny. And also, Copenhagen Airport having this lipstick on sale, number 888 for 228. Again, this is not by chance, it is because this is for a specific market. Quite interesting. I would actually like to ask them if they're selling more of this to Chinese customers. And then finally, number 9, it's called Jiu. And long, liberty, and so on is Jiu. So that means something that is ongoing, that's also something that's very good. So for example, the Forbidden City in Beijing has 9,999 rooms. All right, we have 20 minutes left, so we have time for a little quiz. You ready for that? All right, what is wrong here? You can't talk. Why not? It's Japanese, exactly. Don't confuse Chinese with other people. If you're insecure, or if you're not 100% sure, let's say it that way, just ask, hey, are you from China? Because you don't want to say ni hao to a Chinese. You don't want to bow to a Chinese. That's just not cool. All right. Here we're selling a low rate. 44, yeah, most terrible. Okay, 44 euros is also super expensive, but it's just a price that you cannot use. Then it's better to sell it for 88. That's more positive. All right. Somebody skipping the line? Direct no? Okay, but now the bonus question. So how do you handle this? What do you say instead? Yes, you explain politely that this is not the way. You can explain, excuse me sir, you probably didn't see, of course you did, but you probably didn't see that there were 3 in line before you. Maybe if this is, they have this, exactly with what I started saying with this service personnel that runs around right after you, they have this, has to be now, right? So maybe you can, if you're at a hotel or something like that, or a restaurant, you can take that person aside and say, hey, we have some Chinese written information about souvenirs or our menu or whatever it can be, and then that person's kind of there, and I'll be happy to come back to you. So try to put a little more words to it than saying no, go back, and then point at it. Cool. Exactly. One hand only. The Chinese is even giving it with 2 hands. He's not the only one who needs to be blessed, but the service personnel is. Remember that tiny thing, because it's really something that's going to make them happy, and it is not an extra effort for you to lift 2 hands.
We actually have to lower ourselves for these people.
But is this lowering?
Well, if they think that I'm worse than they are.
Yeah, I think the thing is more, you have to see it as they are really used to this. This is not I think lowering is really a difficult word to use for it, because it doesn't cost you anything to use 2 hands, but you know that it's culturally more appropriate. So I think it's a nice feature to do, but I don't expect you to run around after this like half a meter around and do all these kind of things. I think we just need to be aware that they have a different expectation. And so if there is a Chinese in the shop, you don't need to run around, but maybe you can just have eye contact from the beginning and say, I'll be there if you need me. And then that's already good enough, because then they know you're there. And here, again, I think I would really just take and give it with 2 hands, because there's not something that will cost you anything. So for any people who look like Asians, I would do it. Then we have signing the credit card. I think I already said that, so I think that's pretty obvious. Maybe, he's really having a hard time with that here. But just think about these small things. Again, I think, why not just give them a blue pen instead? It doesn't cost us anything. All right, then I have also some slides specifically for hotels. Do you have time? Yeah. I'll take one of these features one after one, and then we can say if it's good or bad. Having a mirror that's facing the door. Any ideas? Yeah? No, somebody said no. Why? Exactly. It's something with feng shui, and that energy comes in and then it bounces off the mirror and goes right out again. So actually for hotels and so on, people are not very happy if they come in and then there is a mirror opposite the door. But again, there are also a lot of things. You can't really have you don't want the room to be right opposite the elevator, because that's also bad for the flow of tea and so on. So there are a lot of different things. Okay, so not so good. What about a sign, do not this or do not that in Chinese? There is a no, yeah. But it also says something. What do you think? I think this one's a little difficult because it says please don't, and it could be anything, smoke or whatever. The thing about this is information in Chinese is good, but if it's only in Chinese, then it becomes uncomfortable somehow. Like imagine you are at a hotel and then they're only writing all the don't do this, don't do that in Danish for you. That would not be very comfortable. So I think if you have to have these please don't smoke inside the room and so on, just have them in at least English and Chinese, or English and Chinese or something like that. that makes it a lot easier. Cup noodles, I think that's obvious. That would be awesome. It doesn't have to be in a room, but just have it available if they ask for it. That would be great. Welcome. Now I'm already giving you the answers, but welcome packages. Something small. They tend to get a lot, especially if they are traveling with kids and so on. If you have something tiny and can give that to them, it will also be very positively received. Water, kettle, cooker. Yeah, for the hot water. If you don't have it in a room, just have it available somewhere where they can access it 24/7. That's also fine. Wi-Fi for a cost of €7. No. They expect Wi-Fi to be free because it's free everywhere in China. So if it's not a big cost for you, it would also be nice to have it here. A key with number 88. Oh, best room, awesome. Gonna sleep super. A welcome letter in Chinese and English, probably. Yeah, also a good idea. This is also a good place to write down some do's and don'ts, maybe, or something about being sustainable in your country and so on and so forth. That's a good idea. Some tea. Yeah. Chinese obviously like to drink tea, but think about that they prefer Chinese tea. Chinese tea is very subtle. Our tea with the bags is always very heavy somehow, or like it has a lot of taste compared to Chinese tea. So find something that's a little more soft-ish. Slippers. This one is a funny thing. I hear most of you say yes, but I also think a lot of hotels don't have them. But this is something you always have in China. So this is kind of an expected thing by the Chinese. I'm not saying that every hotel should now have slippers, but if you don't have, maybe it could be written somewhere that we don't have it because of blah, blah, blah. So that you can manage these expectations.
They don't bring their own because it's not very sustainable if you give every guest slippers and
but
they throw them away, whatever.
Yeah, but that you could write. You can write, we're a very sustainable hotel, we think about these things. So we would prefer if you bring your own. If you didn't bring or if you forgot your own, you can of course go to the reception and get something like that. So I think just meeting or making sure that their expectations are set correctly would be fine. And then a final thing, we're very happy and celebrating and getting a little drunk and being super loud and super annoying towards all of us in the restaurant. How do we handle this?
We appreciate your silence.
Exactly. For example, we can go and say it's super nice that you're very happy here. We also have other guests and we are usually very quiet here at the restaurant and just feel like, see, this is so nice and we're out here in nature and it would be very nice if you could also lower your voice a bit. So that's also one of the way of saying it. Then I'll just spend the last 5 minutes and then we also have 7 minutes for questions on some specific useful tools for you and also suggestions. In Copenhagen we have this map here. You can come up and get one if you want afterwards. It's super cool because it is made in a Chinese style, so actually the same, next slide. So it's made in this cartoon-ish style because Chinese people really like this cuteness, kind of very nice little look. And we have all the main attractions that we want them to visit. We've also taken some out that we don't want them to visit, so we're hinting a bit. And then we also made some kind of gamified the map by saying, oh, you need to at least find 6 people eating different hot dogs or riding different bikes or whatever it is. And thereby we're actually telling our story, right? We're saying we have a metro without a driver, and we're saying that everybody bikes to work on here, and so on. And the funny thing is that this is made by stone paper, which makes it water resistant, so you can use it as an umbrella, which is double cool because you can't give umbrellas. Right? Awesome. All right, so you could do something similar to this. Also, a lot of places in China you find these things, which is it's exactly here that you have to stand pointing in that direction to take the perfect Instagrammable picture. They are traveling in a more hasty way than we are because they have a lot less holiday than we do. So why not help them to take this perfect picture? And this one you can actually put inside this map, right? You could have top 10 or top 20 or whatever in here. So that's also a tip. Then if you are totally lost, Google Translate is actually quite nice to look. And let me see if I can start it here. So I'm just saying to Google, what am I saying? I'm saying breakfast is between 6 and 8 in the morning. Okay, so we'll actually translate and pronounce it. So if you're completely lost in translation, you can actually use this. It's quite handy. And we also offer these small cards to hotels and restaurants and so on, so that you can just tick off where you need to go, because it makes it a lot easier, the whole communication. And the same we actually offer for hotels, where they can say, we have these amenities and services and so on, and welcome and please note and so on. Everything that you need them to know would be easy to have in a written form. And actually in the beginning we only did it in Chinese, but then there was again this, but is it only towards Chinese? Let's make it in both languages. And that was actually quite nice, because when it was only in Chinese, the Danes didn't know what they were giving out. So that's actually maybe a double good way of doing it. Then we have a website called chinavia.dk, where you find toolkits for hotels, for example, and for retailers, restaurants and attractions. And there's everything from cooking Chinese breakfast for restaurants to all sorts of sizing charts for shops and so on. So there's also a lot of good, useful stuff there. We even have a YouTube channel with a lot of simple Chinese dishes that you can use to offer them. And now I've been almost talking for 2 hours, but we also have this super short half-an-hour crash course, which is for free for everybody. So you can go in and see that and take that. If you have some colleagues, for example, who couldn't be here today, you can just go in here and take that course. And now to how to manage the impact of these Chinese tourists. Actually, okay, yeah. I found this from China Tourist Star, and I thought it was actually pretty good. So let's start with that. So number 1, educate Chinese travelers. So provide materials about what you really need to say about the nature, about how we do things, cultural things, and so on. That is a pretty good idea. Number 2, train tour operators and other tourism businesses in Chinese culture. Tick, that's awesome. Already doing that. I think when you understand more, you will also be less annoyed by it, and you will kind of be more interested in knowing more about these cultural differences, instead of just saying, oh, that was another annoying Chinese tourist. I hope. And then maybe also that's up to you, but the Transport Committee has also been suggesting if your attractions are reaching too many people. Yeah. So what can you do? Okay, we're already learning about Chinese culture, but maybe continue that learning and think about why they do as they do. And provide this important and practical information. For example, signage. I saw at the airport, all the shops selling things were super good, and they took Alipay and WeChat Pay, and they made Chinese New Year things. And then the airport itself, no Chinese whatsoever. So that's also maybe something you can do. And then remember to do it in several languages, and not only for the Chinese, so you're not specifically targeting somebody. And I think it would also be super nice, and I think the Chinese would also really prefer it if they learn something about Icelandic culture and do's and don'ts. So why don't write a welcome letter with some of the do's and don'ts that you do here? Then one could consider Chinese mobile payment solutions. Obviously, it's not a small kiosk that has one Chinese each day that should do this, but somebody who has a little more volume. But that could be interesting. And then I think the one that is actually the most important is this manage expectations. Because if they come here and they expect to have the slippers, and they expect to have a service carrying your bag and so on, then they're going to be disappointed. And remember that right at the beginning was something about being disappointed about your trip to Iceland. It's maybe because they think, I come to Iceland to see the northern lights. Well, maybe it should be super clear that there is no guarantee for northern lights. guarantee it. Because then you manage their expectations, and if you don't see Northern Lights, you will have all these other things that you can also learn. And then also, we do a lot of research in Copenhagen, try to get feedback and learn from it. And it doesn't need to be big questionnaires or anything, but go and talk to people and ask what was the most annoying thing about their trip to Iceland, or what souvenirs did they buy, and so on, and then learn from this. Because why not just make it, if there's small things that we can tweak and change, why not just do that and make everybody have a better experience? Because the traveler who had a good experience goes back and is very much online on WeChat and shares all this. And if it's a good experience, that person will probably bring new customers to you. And then a bonus thing, wash-alongs. Have you ever heard of this? But I found out that there is this concept called wash-alongs, which is a reply to the whole pollution in China. So it's about trips that go somewhere where the air is very clean. And there is an increased search for this on the Chinese Google. So maybe destinations could very soon be Iceland. I think it would be super obvious choice to also think about this for your destination. And then finally, I think I already said it with the airport, with the Chinese signage, this is in Copenhagen. So that is a good idea. And also tax-free refund, also in Copenhagen here. Very Chinese. There's always Chinese staff sitting in the office, but it also makes sense because most of the people who go there to claim tax-free are Chinese. And then whatever you do, and when you write your welcome letter, and if you write your signage and so on, don't only rely on Google Translate. We don't want to end up with these kind of things here where we have mixed seafood direct government office service, which is a seafood noodle dish. So yeah, let's try not to do that. All right, any questions? Do you have any random things or anything you're wondering about? Nope. Else, come up to me afterwards. Thank you so much for your attention, and hope that you'll connect on LinkedIn or WeChat. And if anybody sells ice climbing tours, I'm here until Sunday.
Heyrðu, eins og þið tókuð eftir þá var hann að benda okkur átöluvert efni inn á Chinavia.dk og við erum að gera samkomulag við þá þannig að við fáum aðgang að þessu efni. Þannig að þarna töluvert bréf, eitt og annað í sambandi við mataruppskriftir og það sem var að sýna ykkur áðan, lítið svona próf. Þannig að endilega kynnið ykkur það og þetta verður. Við setjum þetta líka inn á bæði síðuna hjá Íslandsstofu og hjá ferðafólks. Þannig að þetta verður komið núna von bráðar og síðan getum við vonandi bætt þá við efnu þarna inn sem á bara eingöngu við okkur Íslendinga. En bara kæra takk fyrir komuna og takk þau sem eru búin að vera hér að fylgjast með okkur á netinu. Og ég held að það sé engin spurning að kínverski markaðurinn vaxandi. 2015 þá var þetta rétt 3% gistinátta sem voru hjá Kínverjum, en 2018 við erum ekki mynd komið með tölurna fyrir 2019, en 2018 þá voru þetta komið í 6%, þannig að þeir að vaxa töluvert mikið fjöldi Kínverja sem að sækja okkur heim. Og eins og Lían kom líka inn á áðan að þá þetta sá hópur sem að verslar töluvert mikið, þannig að það vel þess virði að þjónusta þá vel. En bara takk fyrir komuna og takk fyrir að fylgjast með og hérna við látum ykkur fylgjast með, setjum á síðunar hjá okkur þegar að þetta efni komið þar inn og það verður núna vonandi bara von bráð. En bara takk fyrir daginn.